came home earlier than usual that day. There was no special reason, just a canceled meeting, a craving for silence, and maybe a strange pull to be in my own space sooner than expected. When I walked into the house, it was quiet, too quiet. Not the kind of quiet that makes you feel peaceful. It was the kind that makes your skin itch, the kind that's hiding something just behind the wall. I closed the door gently behind me, set my keys in the bowl by the entryway, and stepped out of my shoes. Then I heard it, barely audible, but there. A dull thump, rhythmic, steady, mechanical, but human. It was coming from the laundry room. I walked toward the sound. My wife's voice reached me first. "Oh, you're home early." She appeared in the hallway, blocking my view of the laundry door. "Yeah," I said, looking over her shoulder. "Everything okay?" She wiped her hands on a towel that had a smear of detergent. The washing machine's acting up again, making weird noises. "I was just trying to fix it." Again I asked. She nodded quickly. "Yeah, same as last month. I think the drum's loose. I called the guy, but he can't come until Friday." I nodded slowly. She smiled tight-lipped and turned back into the laundry room. But before she closed the door, I heard it again. Not just the thump. A voice. A muffled voice. "Keep the rhythm," it said. Faint, but unmistakable. I stood there for a second too long. She poked her head back out. "Babe, can you help me make dinner? I just need 5 more minutes here." "Sure," I said. But my body didn't move. I waited until the door closed, until I heard the lock click, until the water began to run. I walked to the kitchen slowly, but my mind wasn't there. I turned on the stove, pretending to preheat a pan, but my ears were tuned to every vibration in the house, every beat, every thump. My heart had already started writing a story my brain wasn't ready for. I sat at the dinner table an hour later, watching her laugh at something on her phone. She was good at pretending. I noticed it now. How she smiled too soon, how her eyes shifted when she thought I wasn't looking. The way she chewed slower than usual, like she was pacing herself, like she was performing calmness. I asked nothing. I watched. When she went to bed, I stayed in the living room. I told her I had work emails. She kissed me on the forehead. Her lips felt cold. I stared at the hallway for a long time after the lights went off. I replayed the sound in my head. That thump, that voice. Keep the rhythm. 3 words. 3 words that didn't belong in a laundry room. At 1:00 a.m., I crept back to the laundry door. I touched the knob. It wasn't locked anymore. Inside, the machine stood silent. There were no tools, no detergent spilled, no sign of a repair attempt. The floor was dry. The washer was off. I crouched down and opened the bottom panel. Dust. Clean, undisturbed dust. She hadn't touched the machine. I sat back against the wall and stared at the ceiling. The fan above me spun lazily. My house felt different, like someone had moved the walls 2 inches when I wasn't looking, like the air had changed shape. The next morning she acted normal, almost too normal. "Want eggs or toast?" "Just coffee," I said. I watched her hands. They didn't shake, but she didn't meet my eyes, not once. I left for work but circled back after 20 minutes, parked a block away, waited, watched. At 10:37 a.m., she opened the side gate, looked left, then right, then waved. A man came in, not a repairman. He carried nothing ust a grin. They disappeared inside, the laundry room window shut. And 5 minutes later, the rhythm started again. Thump, thump, thump. I rolled the window down, and through the breeze came the same faint phrase, almost playful. "Keep the rhythm." That's when I knew. It wasn't the machine that was broken. It was the truth. The next few days blurred into a fog. I moved, but it felt like I was being moved. I ate, but I couldn't taste. I went to work, but I didn't hear what anyone said. My mind was locked inside the walls of that laundry room. I couldn't stop hearing the phrase, that whisper through plaster. Keep the rhythm. It echoed in my coffee. It pulsed behind my thoughts at traffic lights. It found its way into every silence. By the third morning, I had a plan. I told myself I wasn't crazy. I just needed proof. Not guesses, not intuition. Proof. And proof required patience. I installed a small camera. Nothing fancy. I mounted it high right above the hallway shelf, disguised it with an old clock no one ever adjusted. It faced the laundry room door. I set it to record only when it detected motion. Then I waited. The first day, nothing happened. The second, she stayed home the whole time. On the third, she left for groceries but came back with no bags. And the fourth day, the camera caught movement. Not her. Him. The man from before. The man who had walked in through the side gate. He didn't knock. He didn't hesitate. He walked straight in like he belonged there. Like the house had always been half his. He went into the laundry room and shut the door. I stared at the footage for hours, looping it, watching frame by frame. It made me sick. Not because of what I saw, but because of how normal it looked, how practiced, how routine. She came in 15 minutes later, smiling. She kissed him. Then the laundry door closed again. No angle caught what happened next, but I didn't need visuals. The audio had captured it, thump, thump, and then the same voice. Keep the rhythm. That voice didn't belong to either of them. It was a recording, preloaded, played as ambiance. I had to step outside to keep from vomiting. That night I sat in the dark. I didn't confront her, I didn't scream, I didn't break things. I watched her move through the kitchen like nothing had changed. I watched her kiss me goodnight like we were still real. I felt every breath as a lie. I couldn't sleep. So I made tea. I stared at the laundry door again, and an idea came subtle and wicked. I would give them a rhythm they'd never forget, but I needed to know more. I needed to know how long, so I did something I swore I wouldn't. I opened her old phone, the one in the nightstand she never used anymore. It was still logged in. And there they were. Messages. Hundreds. Disguised as grocery lists, playlists, exercise routines. Code. They had built an entire language around the phrase. Keep the rhythm wasn't just playful. It was a command. A cue. An inside joke and an instruction. I read every message. I made copies, backups. They thought they were clever. They thought I was asleep. But I was awake now, and I wasn't going back to sleep. I needed something subtle, something psychological. I wanted to disrupt the performance without ending the play, at least not yet. I didn't want confrontation. I wanted recognition. I wanted to see guilt flash across her face, even if for a second. That would be enough to shatter the mask. So I changed my ringtone, simple, elegant. I sampled the phrase "keep the rhythm" from the camera's audio and looped it into a soft, steady beat. I set it as my ringtone, my alarm, even my notification sound. The phrase was now mine. I weaponized it. The first test came at breakfast. I pretended to scroll through emails. I made sure the volume was high enough. Then I triggered the ringtone manually, just a soft, playful loop of that cursed phrase. Keep the rhythm. Keep the rhythm. She dropped the spoon, just like that. Clang, straight into the cereal bowl. She laughed awkwardly and reached for a napkin. Said something about the sound being familiar. I shrugged, found it online. Catchy, right? She nodded too quickly. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. She kept glancing at the hallway as if the walls might betray her. That evening, I used the sound again, this time when her phone rang in the other room. I let my ringtone play while I walked into the kitchen. Her back was to me, but I saw her freeze mid-pour. Red wine spilled onto the counter. She didn't wipe it immediately, just stared at it like blood had come from the bottle. By the third day, she started avoiding the laundry room. She made excuses, said she was switching to hand washing for a while, claimed the machine made her dizzy. I said nothing, just nodded like a man who still believed in everything she said. But I was watching her unravel, slowly, rhythmically. Then came the dinner party. We had friends over. Not many, just a couple who didn't know us too well. It was one of those safe social gatherings where everyone drinks just enough to smile, but not enough to speak truth. We talked about work, new shows, politics, laughed at nothing. I waited until dessert. My phone rang. Keep the rhythm, soft, clear. Echoing into the silence between laughs, she choked on her wine, literally choked. I had to pat her back while she coughed into a napkin. The guests looked alarmed. I said it was the wine. She nodded and excused herself to the bathroom. She stayed there for 15 minutes. That night she asked if I could change the ringtone. It's starting to give me headaches, she said. I looked her straight in the eye. Funny. I find it soothing. She didn't reply. She went to bed early. I sat in the living room, phone in hand, and played the phrase on loop. I stared at the laundry door. I imagined them in there rewinding their lies, practicing new ones, wondering how much I knew. But I wasn't done yet. I printed transcripts, photos, screenshots. I organized them into folders, labeled each one by date, time, and location. I stored backups in multiple drives. One for me, one in the car, one at the office. I wasn't going to lose this to a deleted message or a clever excuse. I started mapping patterns. Her mood shifts, sudden schedule changes, recurring keywords. I began to see not just infidelity, but ritual. They had rules, boundaries, techniques, and above all, a phrase. That same phrase that now haunted her just as much as it haunted me. I realized something then. She wasn't just afraid of getting caught. She was afraid of why I hadn't said anything. Silence was its own kind of threat. I stayed silent. I let the ringtone play. And every time it did, I watched her flinch. It was working. It was time to confirm what I already knew. I couldn't rely solely on instinct, no matter how sharp mine had grown. I needed facts that could speak even in a courtroom. So, I called in a favor. An old acquaintance of mine, more of a paranoid tinkerer, then a technician, came by the next morning. I told him the machine was rattling, making strange sounds. I didn't say what kind of sounds. He didn't ask. He was the kind of person who trusted bolts and wires more than people. He opened the front panel of the washing machine and peered inside, flashlight in hand. Minutes passed. Then he leaned back and frowned. "There's nothing wrong with it," he said. "No loose drum, no busted bearings, not even a scratch." I nodded, pretending to be confused. "Are you sure?" He chuckled and tapped the machine's side. "This one's solid. You could wash bricks in it and it'd purr like a kitten." He left. I didn't offer coffee. I stood in front of the machine alone. Its digital display blinked calmly. It had never been broken. It was never meant to wash anything during those moments. It was camouflage. A stage. That night I waited until she went to bed. I crouched in front of the machine and examined it like it had whispered secrets. Inside the detergent compartment, I found a folded cloth. Clean. Scented. Not ours. hidden like it belonged to a stranger who needed it nearby. There was a faint lipstick mark on the edge, not her color. I reached behind the unit, tracing the power cable, and found a tiny device taped to the wall. A portable speaker. Small. Battery-powered. Linked by Bluetooth. That was how they played the voice, how they summoned the rhythm without speaking. It wasn't spontaneous, it was scripted. I turned it on. A recording played instantly. Keep the rhythm. I stared at the speaker. I felt no anger, just awe. At the layers, at the effort, at the theater of it all, every part of it choreographed. She wasn't careless. She was meticulous. And that made me feel something far worse than betrayal. It made me feel like a fool. I recorded everything video audio notes. I created a digital vault with facial recognition. I even shared it with an anonymous email address I controlled, just in case something happened to my devices. This wasn't just an affair anymore, it was architecture. Later that week, I found another anomaly. A burner phone hidden in a shoebox in the attic, stuffed inside an old sock. Only 3 contacts saved. One was a number I'd seen in the messages. Another was saved as delivery. The last simply read R. No messages, just timestamps, frequent, always mid-morning, always after I left. I took the phone. I didn't tell her. I began calling the contacts from a spoofed number, pretending to be a logistics agent, tracking a lost parcel. 2 didn't answer. The 3rd cursed and hung up. But I recorded every interaction. It was like pulling threads from a tightly woven sweater. The more I pulled, the more it unraveled. Eventually, I stopped sleeping in the same bed. I told her I had insomnia. I started sleeping in the guest room. She didn't protest. That silence told me everything. I changed the locks on the digital security system, reprogrammed the cameras, rerouted the feeds. Now I saw everything in real time, and what I saw chilled me. She wasn't mourning the distance. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She was simply adjusting. Her calls grew longer, her steps lighter. She smiled more when I wasn't around, and always that phrase came back. It haunted our home, played from devices, whispered into cameras, echoed in the spaces where truth used to live. One afternoon I came home early again. She wasn't expecting me. The garage was empty, but I heard faint music. I walked in quietly. The laundry room door was open, no one inside, but the speaker was on. The phrase played on repeat. Keep the rhythm. Keep the rhythm. I turned it off, closed the door, and stood there, staring at the machine that never broke. The lies had become so layered that even silence had a sound. She had built a world inside that room, a world where truth was optional, and desire had a soundtrack. But now I owned that soundtrack, and soon I would write the final scene. I knew it had to be soon. The pressure building inside me needed a release, not the kind that explodes in rage or confrontation. No, I wanted clarity. I wanted the moment to crystallize in front of both of us. No lies, no scripts, no rhythm to follow. So I faked a trip. A business conference out of town. Something I'd forgotten to tell her about. I left a bag by the door, staged a hotel reservation confirmation. On my laptop screen, left my car at the airport, and then I vanished. Not into the shadows, into the walls, into the camera feeds, into the digital ether of my own home. I checked into a cheap motel just far enough to be out of sight, just close enough to be the god of my own house. I had access to every room, every angle. The microphones picked up whispers. The cameras adjusted to light-tracked movement. I didn't sleep. I watched. The day started normally. She kissed the air beside the guest room door, made toast, played soft jazz. But by 11:00 a.m., the performance shifted. Her clothes changed, the music switched to something sensual. She wore perfume I hadn't smelled in years. Then he arrived. The same man, always the same. He came in through the side gate like always. No words were exchanged, no greetings. They didn't need them. It was choreography. They went to the laundry room. I turned up the volume. The speaker clicked on. Keep the rhythm. It began. I watched them blur together in motion, two bodies, rehearsing what they'd done countless times. But this time I wasn't blind. This time the eyes of the betrayed were also the eyes of a judge. I didn't flinch. I didn't pause the footage. I watched the whole thing, all of it. I timed their movements. I noted the transitions. I memorized the way they moved through betrayal like a waltz. Then I made the call. Not to her, not to him, to a locksmith. I gave him instructions, remote access, override codes. I had him change every entry point while they were still inside, while they were still caught in the spin cycle of their lies. When they finished, he left first, tried the side door, locked. He checked the windows, sealed. I watched him panic. She followed, wearing confusion like a mask. She tried the front door. Nothing. Her phone buzzed. I had sent her a message. Just 3 words. Keep the rhythm. No threats. No accusations. Just the sound of their undoing. She froze. He cursed. I watched her face contort into something I hadn't seen before, not guilt, not shame, fear. I activated the final phase. The house went dark. Every light, every outlet, power down. Cameras stayed on, battery powered. They were in the belly of the beast now, and I held the key. I let them stew for 20 minutes. Then the intercom crackled. You like games, I said calmly. Let's play one. You have 15 minutes to explain everything, and only one of you walks out with dignity. Choose wisely. They screamed, pleaded, begged. I didn't respond. I watched. They turned on each other. Accusations flew. Promises broken in real time. The truth, raw and fast, spilled across the room like detergent. She admitted to starting it. He confessed to filming some of their encounters. Blackmail came up, then abortion, then money. They unraveled until they didn't recognize themselves. I recorded it all. When the time was up, I restored power. The locks clicked open. He ran. She collapsed. I didn't return home that night. I let the silence sit with her. I let her taste what I had lived with for weeks. The machine was never broken, but now something else was. And this time, it wasn't me. I came back the next morning. Not to talk, not to shout, not to demand anything. I walked through the front door like a man returning to a place he'd once called home, but now saw as a crime scene. She was sitting on the couch, the same couch where we once watched movies. Laughed, fell asleep, tangled in each other. Now she sat there like a ghost, not crying, just staring. A woman hollowed out by the sound of her own collapse. I said nothing. I walked past her into the laundry room. I opened the machine. It smelled like fabric softener and lies. I pulled out the speaker and crushed it beneath my heel. No more rhythm, no more signal, no more hiding places. Then I packed. Slowly, methodically. I folded shirts like they mattered. I chose only what I needed. My movements weren't frantic. They were free. Every drawer I closed was a door I no longer needed to walk through. She followed me. I felt her presence before I heard it. her breath behind mine, her eyes searching for something to anchor to. I didn't turn around. I zipped my suitcase, walked it to the car, came back for one last item, a hard drive I had kept hidden behind the bookshelf. The one with everything. All the footage, the calls, the confessions. I placed it in my briefcase. Then I finally spoke. I don't need revenge, I said. I don't need closure. I already lived through the worst part, and I survived it while pretending I didn't know. That was my punishment. Yours is just beginning. I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. I drove in silence. Music felt dishonest. Noise felt wrong. I checked into a rental near the coast. Small, clean, simple. I spent 3 days watching the ocean, not thinking, just breathing. On the 4th day, I began writing again. Not just notes or observations. Real writing, stories, thoughts. The voice I had buried beneath suspicion began to rise again. With each sentence, I stitched back pieces of myself. I hired a lawyer, quiet, efficient. The kind who didn't blink when I handed over evidence but raised an eyebrow at the level of detail. The kind who knew this wasn't about cheating. It was about erosion, of trust, of identity, of something deeper than marriage. I filed the papers, then I sent one final message, not to her, to him. It read, I know everything. Stay gone. He never replied. He didn't need to. That silence was enough. Weeks passed, then months. The house was sold, the money divided, the story buried in legalese and polite silence. I didn't tell mutual friends. I didn't smear her. I let the silence do the talking. It was louder anyway. Some nights I still hear it, the fake thump of that machine, the mechanical rhythm of a lie echoing down a hallway. But it doesn't hurt anymore. It just reminds me how far I've come. Truth has no soundtrack. It doesn't need rhythm. It just needs space to breathe. And now finally so do I.